Love has no boundaries, or at least, that's what we're told. Throughout history, relationships have formed that defy social norms, pushing against the lines of morality, tradition, and even legality. From Cleopatra marrying her own brother to King Henry VIII reshaping England for love and power, forbidden love has always come at a cost. But sometimes, that cost is paid in blood. Because this story isn't about kings or queens. It's about a man named Miles Carter, who fell in love with someone he never should have. A relationship that started as a secret ended in the most brutal way imaginable. Because the person he married? His own sister. And the person who ended his life? That very same wife. This is the disturbing, tragic, and deeply unsettling case of Miles and Catherine Carter, how their forbidden love led to obsession, control, and ultimately, murder. A trial that dragged on for years. A family shattered beyond repair. And a final sentence that left the world in shock. Before we begin, if you love true crime stories that dig deep into the most chilling and unexpected cases, make sure to subscribe to The Last Confession. We bring you real crimes, real investigations, and the final truth behind them. Now, let's get into it. To understand what led to the murder, we have to go back to 2012, when Miles Carter made a decision that would alter his fate forever. At the time, Miles was 38 years old, a self-made millionaire in the real estate business. He was confident, respected, and charming, the kind of man who commanded attention wherever he went. But beneath that polished exterior was a man living a life of secrecy, his personal affairs carefully hidden from the world. Miles had always been private about his relationships. Friends and family knew he dated women, but he never seemed to settle down. Many assumed it was because he was too focused on his career, too unwilling to be tied down. But the truth? It was something much darker. That same year, his younger sister Catherine re-entered his life in a way no one could have foreseen. Fresh off a bitter divorce from her ex-husband, David Williams, whom she married in 2009, Catherine was volatile, unpredictable, and fiercely possessive. Her marriage had ended in flames, and those who knew her best understood why. She was hot-tempered, jealous, and constantly searching for conflict where there was none. But there was something else. A secret no one knew. Because before she married David, before she ever said, "I do," to a man society deemed acceptable, she had already been entangled in something much more forbidden. Her relationship with Miles had begun long before anyone realized. And when her marriage fell apart, she didn't just return to her brother for comfort, she returned to reclaim what she saw as hers. By 2017, the unthinkable happened. Miles and Catherine secretly married. Yes, he married his own sister. They had a private ceremony in Las Vegas, using fake last names to avoid suspicion. On paper, they were legally husband and wife. But to their family, they were still just siblings. A secret that dark comes with a price. And soon, that price would be paid in blood. A love that became a cage. The secrecy only made Catherine more possessive. She controlled who Miles could see, who he could talk to, even where he could go. No other women could be around him. She had to be the center of his world, the only love he would ever need. At first, Miles played along. Maybe he felt guilt. Maybe he felt trapped. Or maybe, deep down, he still loved her in some twisted way. But by 2022, something had changed. Miles wanted out. He started making plans. He reached out to a lawyer. He spoke to close friends, hinting at the fact that he needed to escape. He had spent years under her thumb, and now, he was ready to break free. But Catherine wasn't about to let that happen. On March 22, 2022, everything came to a head. A murder no one saw coming. The night of the murder, neighbors heard shouting. "I can't do this anymore." Miles's voice, filled with desperation. "You promised me forever. If I can't have you, no one will." Catherine's voice, wild with fury. Then, a loud crash. And then, silence. The next morning, Miles Carter was found dead in his bed. He had been stabbed. Not once. Not twice. 16 times. His body was covered in defensive wounds. He had fought for his life, but it hadn't been enough. And Catherine? She was the one who called 911. When police arrived, she was eerily calm. She didn't run. She didn't deny what she had done. She simply said, "He was mine. He made a promise. And if I couldn't have him, no one could." A trial that gripped the nation. The trial was a media spectacle. Prosecutors painted Catherine as a manipulative, jealous woman who had spent years controlling her brother husband. Witnesses described her obsessive behavior, the way she kept Miles isolated, how she never allowed him to have a life of his own. Emails revealed that Miles had been preparing to leave. A divorce attorney had been contacted. He had even started looking at apartments. Forensic evidence showed that he had been awake during the attack. He had tried to fight back. But 16 stab wounds later, he was gone. The trial dragged on for years. Mistrials. Jury tampering. Shock after shock. But in the end, there was only one outcome. A sentence that shook the world. Catherine Carter was found guilty of first-degree murder. Her sentence? The death penalty. The courtroom was silent. No cheers. No outbursts. Just the weight of finality settling in. Miles's family wept. Catherine's supporters sat in stunned silence. And Catherine? She smiled. Catherine's remaining family disowned her. Miles's name would never be spoken without the stain of scandal. The Carter family would never be whole again. And Catherine? She sits on death row, awaiting her fate. A fate she carved with her own hands. Your thoughts? Was this an act of obsession? Or was Catherine simply incapable of love? Let's talk in the comments, I read every single one. And if you love deep dives into shocking true crime cases, subscribe to The Last Confession. Until next time, remember, every crime has a final truth.